Every single morning at 6:30 a.m., roughly 27 million Japanese people do the exact same thing. They turn on their radios or televisions and spend 3 minutes performing a series of gentle exercises that their grandparents practiced, that their parents practiced, and that they've repeated since childhood. Radio Taiso is the name, and this might be the most successful public health program ever created. Japan holds the record for longest life expectancy in the world, with women living to 87 on average and men reaching 81, but what matters even more is how they live those years. Japanese men spend an average of 73 years completely free of disability, and Japanese women spend 75 years that way. Researchers went looking for answers and kept finding the same pattern. These simple morning movements, practiced for just 3 minutes a day, showed an 18% reduction in dementia risk across large population studies. Clinical trials demonstrated that 94% of frail elderly participants stuck with the program. Balance improved in measurable ways, and adverse events landed at virtually zero. What you're about to learn covers exactly what these movements are, why they produce results, and how you can start practicing them tomorrow morning, whether you're standing, sitting, or somewhere in between. Part 1. The 96-year-old secret. November 1st, 1928 marked the first Radio Taiso broadcast at 7 o'clock in the morning from Tokyo. And within months, on February 12, 1929, stations carried it across the entire country. That means this program has run continuously for 96 years without interruption. When Radio Taiso launched, Japanese life expectancy sat at only 42 to 43 years. But today, half of all Japanese women will celebrate their 90th birthday. Half the female population reaches that age. Japan's Postal Life Insurance Bureau created the program alongside NHK, the National Broadcasting Corporation, and the Ministry of Education, and the inspiration actually came from America. Back in 1923, Japanese officials traveled to the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in New York and discovered something called the Tower Health Exercises, which had been broadcasting since April 1925. They brought the concept home, adapted it to Japanese culture, and built something that would weave itself into daily life for nearly a century. Richie Iji served as the first announcer, living from 1890 to 1970, and his early broadcasts featured him in military uniform shouting attention. To kick off the exercises, that approach didn't last long. He switched to a cheerful greeting still echoed today. "Good morning, everyone everywhere. Here we go. Be lively, and let's start exercising." That warm, accessible tone became the heart of everything Radio Taiso represents. The program was never about military discipline or athletic performance. Moving together, everyone, everywhere, that was the point. NHK Radio 1 and NHK Television carry the broadcast at 6:30 a.m. today, making it one of the only sponsored programs on public NHK, with Japan Post Insurance providing the funding. Recognition spans nearly the entire population, with a 2021 survey showing 96.9% of Japanese people know Radio Taiso by name. The official slogan captures the whole philosophy in 6 words. It's Tsudemo, Dakodemo, translated to English, whenever, wherever, whoever. Part 2. The science that everything. 3 minutes of gentle exercises might sound too simple to matter. And that skepticism makes sense until you see what the research actually found. The Tokyo Metropolitan Institute for Geriatrics and Gerontology published a randomized controlled trial in the Journal of Epidemiology in 2024, recruiting 226 older adults who already showed signs of frailty or pre-frailty. Median age hit 78 years old, 70% were women. And for 12 weeks, one group practiced Radio Taiso, while the control group continued their normal routines. The Radio Taiso participants attended 5 group sessions and practiced daily at home on their own. Results came back clear across multiple measures. Balance improved by 0.3 seconds on a standard test called the 8-foot up and go. Aerobic endurance jumped by 3.2 additional steps in a 2-minute step test. And exercise self-efficacy held strong throughout the intervention. But here's the number that stood out most. Adherence reached 94.1%, meaning nearly everyone who started the program stayed with it. Most exercise programs for seniors struggle to keep half their participants, so that figure represents something unusual. Safety data looked even better. Out of all the unsupervised home practice sessions, researchers recorded only 3 mild pain events, a rate of 0.01%.
Well, essentially nothing went wrong.
That same year brought an even larger study tracking 11,219 older adults for an average of 5.3 years, with researchers including collaborators from Harvard School of Public Health looking specifically at dementia risk. Radio. Taiso practitioners showed an 18% lower risk of developing dementia compared to those who didn't practice any form of Taiso. With a hazard ratio of 0.82 and a confidence interval that just reached statistical significance, what this means requires some clarity. Observational studies can't prove causation, so nobody can claim radio Taiso prevents dementia. What the data does show is that people who practice these movements develop dementia at significantly lower rates, even after controlling for other factors. A 2020 study in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care examined diabetes patients who practiced radio Taiso twice daily during hospitalization. Those who exercised maintained their muscle mass, while those who didn't lost a significant amount. The numbers were negative 0.01 kilograms per square meter in exercisers versus negative 0.27 in non-exercisers. Zero adverse effects appeared across the entire intervention. No hypoglycemia, no falls, no pain complaints. Part 3. The 5 movements radio Taiso contains 13 exercises total, but 5 of them target the areas that matter most for seniors: shoulder mobility, spinal flexibility, core strength, and balance. Researchers measured these exercises at 3.7 to 4.5 METs, which qualifies as moderate intensity and meets World Health Organization recommendations for multi-component physical activity. Every single movement can be performed sitting down if standing isn't an option. Movement 1. Arm circles. Shoulder health drives this first exercise. Swing your arms in full circles, starting from the shoulders, brushing your arms near your ears during each rotation. And this matters because stiff shoulders rank among the most common complaints in elderly populations. They limit reaching ability, interfere with dressing independently, and chip away at daily autonomy. Keeping the shoulder joint mobile prevents the gradual tightening that comes from not using full range of motion. The seated version works identically. Circles might shrink in size, but the benefit stays the same. It's movement 2, side bends. Standing with feet wider than shoulder width, you bend your upper body left and then right, while keeping your legs straight throughout the movement. This targets the intercostal muscles between your ribs and improves flexibility through your back and chest at the same time. Tight intercostal muscles lead to shallower breathing and worse posture over time. Seated practitioners perform the same movement anchored to their chair, sometimes holding the side of the seat for stability. Movement 3, body twists, feet apart. Arms swinging horizontally while your torso twists. And the key detail involves following your fingertips with your eyes throughout the rotation. This makes your backbone more supple and improves thoracic spine rotation, which keeps posture stable and reduces fall risk. Poor spinal mobility forces awkward compensating movements that throw off balance. Eye tracking during the twist adds coordination benefits on top of the flexibility work. Movement 4, forward and backward bends. You bend forward twice, reaching toward your toes, then bend backward with arms straight, targeting the lower back muscles that support your spine. Japanese practitioners specifically mention this helps prevent lumbago, which means lower back pain in clinical terms. Seated modifications involve bending forward over your thighs to reach toward the floor, then sitting back up and arching gently backward against the chair. Movement 5. Deep breathing. Arms rise while stretching through your fingertips, chest spreading open as you breathe in, then arms cross in front of your body as you breathe out. This functions as more than a cool down by returning your nervous system to a calm state, promoting relaxation and reinforcing the mind-body connection that carries into the rest of your day. All 5 movements together take about 1.5 minutes at a slow, deliberate pace. The full radio Taiso routine runs roughly 3 minutes total. NHK provides official guides for seated practice on their website, and Japan Post Insurance publishes illustrated materials showing both standing and seated positions for each exercise. 1999 brought a specialized version called Minna no Taiso, meaning exercise for everyone, designed with universal principles so people of any age, gender, or disability status can participate fully. Part 4. Why Japan is different. Radio Taiso carries real power, but the culture surrounding it explains Japanese longevity more completely. Okinawa stands as one of 5 blue zones worldwide, regions identified by researcher Daisuke Buettner, where populations live measurably longer lives. Dr. Makoto Suzuki established the Okinawa Centenarian Study in 1975, creating the longest continuously running centenarian study in existence. The statistics from Okinawa demand attention. Approximately 50 centenarians per 100,000 people live there, while most developed countries count between 10 and 20. Heart disease strikes Okinawans at rates 80% lower than Western populations. The most telling number is that Okinawans spend 97% of their lives on average free from disability. Movement appeared after interview when researchers talked to centenarians about their habits, but not exercise as Westerners think about it. No gyms, no equipment, no special workout clothing entered the picture. Gardening was nearly universal among Okinawan centenarians, with almost all of them growing or having grown a garden at some point. Floor-sitting culture meant getting up and down dozens of times every single day. Don Buettner observed one 103-year-old who stood up and sat down 30 times daily. And he put it simply, "That's like doing 30 squats." Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales wrote a book called Ikigai after interviewing 100 Okinawan centenarians, and they found that nearly all of them practiced radio Taiso, including those doing the movements from wheelchairs. Ikigai itself, which translates roughly as the reason you wake up in the morning, shows up in longevity research repeatedly. A 2008 study of 43,000 Japanese found that participants who practiced Ikigai had lower cardiovascular disease rates and reduced mortality, compared to those without that sense of purpose. Okinawa doesn't even have a word for retirement, according to Buettner. People shift what they contribute instead of stopping entirely. Social structure adds another layer through the tradition called moi, which are support groups people belong to for their entire lives. Buettner discovered one moi that had met continuously for 97 years, with members averaging 102 years old. They gathered daily, and if someone didn't show up, the others walked across the village to check on their friend. The Japan Gerontological Evaluation Study produced data on group exercise showing better outcomes than solo practice, with odds ratios for poor health at 0.57 for group exercisers versus 0.69 for those exercising alone. Community amplifies the physical benefits. Dr. Craig Wilcox, one of the Okinawa Centenarian Study investigators, summarized decades of research this way. About 2/3 of longevity is related to diet and way of life. The rest is genetics. That calculation means the majority of how long you live and how well you live sits within your control. Part 5. The corporate secret Japanese business culture incorporates radio Taiso in ways that surprised me during research for this video. Sony runs daily exercise drills at 3 p.m. for all employees, including executives. Toyota, Panasonic, and Rakuten build morning exercise routines into Kore, the traditional Japanese morning business meeting that starts each workday. None of this reflects eccentric corporate policy. Japanese companies understand that a few minutes of movement sharpens focus, reduces workplace injuries, and creates shared participation across every level of the organization. The World Economic Forum highlighted Japanese workplace exercise practices as a model for health and resilience globally. Adults over 65 now represent 29.1% of Japan's population, which means keeping people mobile and active isn't just health policy anymore. Economic necessity drives it. Japan maintains over 210,000 sports and gym facilities, with 50,000 of them publicly accessible, and 86% of public schools open their facilities to community members. Infrastructure for movement exists everywhere you look. But the most powerful piece of infrastructure costs nothing at all. 3 minutes of music playing every morning at 6:30 reaches anyone who turns on a radio. Part 6. How to start tomorrow. Getting started requires nothing more than an internet connection. Official NHK videos for Radio Taiso Part 1 and Part 2 sit on YouTube ready to watch. Japan Post Insurance runs their own YouTube channel called the Radio Taiso channel, with guided sessions available anytime. English versions exist, along with versions featuring Pokemon and Hello Kitty. Plus community-created videos from practitioners around the world. A website called Radio Taiso.com offers weekly live Zoom sessions and maintains a Facebook community for people who prefer real-time practice with others. For someone over 60 who has never tried these exercises, the seated version makes the best starting point. NHK publishes an official PDF guide specifically for seated practice. Move slowly through the positions and focus on whatever range of motion feels comfortable rather than matching exactly what appears on screen. The research demonstrated that frail adults with a median age of 78 practice daily with 94% adherence and virtually no injuries. That level of safety and accessibility tells you exactly how gentle this program really is. The same time every day matters more than which time you choose. Japanese practitioners gather at 6:30 a.m., but the hour isn't what makes it work. Consistency builds the habit, and the habit matters more than perfect execution. Finding someone to practice with amplifies results based on everything the research shows. Group exercise produces better outcomes across the studies. And even a phone call with a friend where you both do the movements together at the same time adds that social connection the data points toward. Conclusion. A 101-year-old Okinawan woman named Umito Yamashiro appeared in a Netflix documentary about longevity and said something that captures the entire spirit of Radio Taiso. Always have fun. Don't get angry, have fun with everyone, make everyone happy. This laughter brings us longevity. Athletic achievement doesn't factor into this practice. Pushing through pain has no place here. Showing up, moving gently, and ideally sharing the experience with others is the whole program. For 96 years, millions of Japanese people have started their mornings this way. Researchers at the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute for Geriatrics and Gerontology, Harvard School of Public Health, universities across Japan produced evidence confirming what practitioners knew all along. These simple movements practiced consistently create measurable improvements in balance, endurance, muscle preservation, and possibly dementia risk. The proof shows up in 87-year-old women and 81-year-old men who wake up every morning, turn on the radio, and move. 3 minutes. No gym, no equipment. Just you, the music. And 27 million people across Japan doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same moment. Tomorrow morning, you could join them. Thank you for watching. If this helped you, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from these movements. I'll see you in the next one.